Hello, and thank you so much for joining me today for the Sage Intacct Revenue Recognition for Order Entry. My name is Linda Pinion, and I'll be your host. Before we move into the solution presentation, let's review our agenda. We'll start out by looking at some of the challenges of revenue recognition, and then we'll talk about what you're going to see in the solution today. We'll finish up by reviewing some key takeaways. When we talk to companies today that are interested in automating their revenue management, one of their key reasons for looking at automation is to address their audit. And for those companies that are struggling to gather that information, to have it accurate and available for auditing purposes, they realize that they need to look at a solution that will help them save time and eliminate the error-prone spreadsheet. Perhaps you're struggling with that same type of process. The other area that we talked about a lot with our prospects was just the sheer amount of time that it takes, the time that they could be doing other things that are more strategic as opposed to just doing those tasks and activities, those more tactical type of activities. So at the end of the day, they're really struggling with all of the information that they're needing to gather, and they're also not comfortable in their inability to have visibility to the information. So when we talked to them about our solution, we talked about the fact that not only do we have a revenue management solution, but we have two solutions. So today, what we're looking at is the more traditional way of managing revenue through order entry. However, there is a more advanced way that integrates with our contract management solution. And for many companies that are using Salesforce, this is also attractive to them because this whole process can start with Salesforce and then move through an integration to Sage Intacct. So either way, we can address your revenue management requirements, whether it be with the more traditional way through order entry or through our contract management. If that is something that you would like more information on around contract management, perhaps the Salesforce integration and revenue management, please make sure and raise this with your Sage Intacct representative. What I'm going to share with you today is a little bit of the configuration and setup that you would want to do in inventory and in order entry to utilize revenue management. I'm also going to share with you a sales order that I have already put through the process of creating that schedule. So you'll see that schedule created. You'll see the visibility that you have to that schedule. And then we'll take a look at some deferred revenue reporting. So let's go ahead and take a look at that in the solution. So the first thing that I do want to point out is with any application in Sage Intacct, you're going to need to do some setup and configuration. So of course, the first thing that you want to do is to subscribe to that revenue management. And just to be clear, this is a separate SKU, a separate application, so you do need to subscribe to it. It does carry a separate fee. And you will need to make sure that you revisit your permissioning to make sure that folks have the proper permission to get into this area of the software. So that's all housed here in the company section. So now let's move over to order entry, and let's talk a little bit about how this comes into play with order entry. And I'm just going to access my item that I set up through order entry. I could get to that through inventory as well. But I set up an item called services. And this particular item is a non-inventory sales item. Let's go ahead and edit that item so we can take a look at a couple of key pieces of information. So first of all, there is a tab here called Contract Terms, And I have identified this item has a start and end date. I've also set up the periods as monthly periods, and there are 12 of them. And I've also flagged the checkbox here to allow to prorate the price. So once I've set that up, so I have my items, then let's go take a look at what I've set up in order entry and the process that I've already run through. So I'll point to this particular sales invoice here to my customer, Mary Garcia, and you'll notice that there's a separate little hyperlink here to revenue schedules. So first, let's take a look at how we got to this point. So in this sales invoice, I had two steps in my process. So I entered a sales order, and when I entered that sales order, it was for that services item. And then I came back and I invoiced that sales order. So invoicing that sales order for my services, so you can see that I've tagged it to a few of the dimensions that I'm using. This is a service for $12,000. Now, I've kept this one pretty simple, but what I want to show you is underneath the line here, we've got the information of how this is then tagged to that revenue template. So you see my start date, my end date, it's a period of 12, it's a default term period of months, and then you can see that I've got a hyperlink here to my RevRec template. So you have the ability to set up the revenue recognition templates. You can set up as many of these as you choose. This one is a very simple one. It's basically saying it's straight line. I'm going to recognize this revenue over a 12-month period. I'm going to post it on a monthly basis. I'm going to post it at the end of the period, and it's going to be for 12 periods. So that gives me that hyperlink right to that RevRec template from underneath the line. I also, from underneath the line, can view the schedule. So there's several places we can get to this information, but since we're here, this is the schedule information. So I can see how it's going to post and when it's going to post, and also the account that it's going to post into. So again, some hyperlinks, and you can see that this particular schedule has not been started. So it's in a not started type of status. So these revenue recognition schedules can be in different statuses. That can become important to you because let's just say that you have someone who starts their revenue schedule, and for some reason you need to put it on hold and you need to stop that and then restart it. You have the ability to filter on those different statuses, and we'll see that when we go into managing the revenue schedule. And then you also have the audit trail, so you know that we're tracking all of the change history. Anything that's happening, we're tracking that so that you have visibility to it. So let's come back and look at our sales invoice again. So let's just come back to that sales invoice, and let's look at, from the lister screen, let's look at the revenue schedule. So we can get to this a couple of different ways. It is a menu option, and you can certainly bookmark it, but from within that sales invoice, I can also get to this information. So this is where I have the ability to put in some filters. And very simply, I've said I want to look at revenue schedules that post on or before the end of the year. So here is my schedule for Mary Garcia. I've got that hyperlink back to my sales invoice. I can see all of my dates, the fact that it is set up on an automated posting method. So you can set this up on manual first until you're comfortable with it, and then you can switch it over to automatic. And that's typically what people do because they want to look at it first, make sure that they're accurate, and then they switch it over to automatic. is for the $12,000 amount. And as we look over here, we can see that nothing has been recognized yet because, again, remember, we haven't started this, and it's going to keep track of what our amount is that we're going to post. Additionally, there are some other filters that you can use here. So remember I said that you could have schedules in different statuses. So here you can see some of those statuses that are available. So I could have used this revenue schedule option off of the menu. Instead of looking at a specific one, I could have looked at this report, if you will, this view across everything that's out there, and then I could have filtered it by a particular customer or a particular transaction type or a specific item or document number. So you have a lot of choices as to how you want to see this report or this view. So once we have applied that information, again, you could get to that Manage Revenue Schedules from a menu option as well, but I got to it right from the transaction itself. So what we've done is we've set up an item and we've said, I want to make sure that this particular item, I'm going to invoice my customer for $12,000. So Mary got an invoice for $12,000. However, what I want Intacct to do is I want it to use that $12,000 and defer $11,000 the first month, to defer that $11,000 and recognize only $1,000. And based on the schedule, I'm going to want to do that every single month. So I can now see over the course of 12 months, that $12,000 is going to be recognized $1,000 per month for 12 months. And again, here's a couple of reports that are deferred revenue reports. And these reports are ones that you can run at any time. They're already created for you, and you'll notice that you've got some visibility here. So you can put in a beginning and ending date. You can run this across specific filters here at the bottom. So you'll be able to see the $1,000 that's going to be coming to you across the entire period. So now you'll be able to know and be able to see in January and February, there's not been anything recognized, but starting in March all the way through December, I will be expecting $1,000 to be recognized in revenue. The second report that's out there, this is a forecast report. The second report that's out there is the deferred revenue details. So here again, you could say based on a certain reporting period as of a certain date, and you can certainly go in and key in a specific date range as well. And then again, you've got some other filters out there that you can filter this as well. So here's the $12,000 that we've got set up. Once this schedule starts posting, we'll start seeing the amount being recognized. We'll see the deferred amount. We'll also see the amount paid. So 2 standard reports that have already been created for you. And then if you chose to, you could have other reports that you could create with the custom report writer. So let's come back and review a few things around our key takeaways. So one of the things that we know is managing revenue manually is a big job, and it doesn't provide the control and the auditability that you need. It also does not give you visibility to reporting in real time. So as you are creating sales orders and posting invoices, it's automatically creating those schedules. And then once you have those schedules set to automatic, they're going to be posting automatically. So you won't need to make the journal entries. You won't need to create the reports, because we're going to automate those accounting entries, and we're going to automate creating those revenue schedules. This is going to provide you and your executive team a very strategic view of revenue. So for better planning, for better visionary purposes, you'll be able to see all of that information in real time. You may even want to set up a separate dashboard, a dashboard that has revenue or revenue management on it, and have these reports contained in a separate dashboard. I want to thank you for your time today, and I look forward to talking to you again real soon.